live and direct. Church full.
Shonda, email me their bios.
I can do it. I can do it.
Got it?
I can't fix it away.
Okay, we're live. Let me know, guys, when you want. We need to open up the waiting room.
Well, it's 2:27.
I need my 3 minutes, please. Because
Yeah.
please. I need my 3
Keisha
minutes. I
vacation.
need to get that email from Mark.
You gonna send it, Mari?
Yeah,
Or I can copy it from the app.
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, she's okay. Nice time to say it.
No, it hit me like.
It just hit you. Sometimes some things just hit you like that. See, good.
Right. Hey, Gigi.
And y'all know we're live on YouTube, right?
Yeah. It's
Welcome.
editable.
Praise God.
It's family. It's family.
Right.
This is how we get prepared.
Any last minute instructions?
Prayer.
Oh,
We have a prayer.
We need a prayer.
I say, hey, go ahead. Who can?
Who wants to do it? We got a deacon on here, Andrew Scott. Trying to be silent. Deacon Scott, go say a prayer real quick.
You probably.
Unmute him.
He probably put his phone down.
Mar, you
I'll
sent
eat
it?
lunch.
Yeah, I did.
Didn't get it. Where did you send it to?
In our sister
No, I need you to email it to me, honey.
I got you.
So,
All right, we got.
well, the number is growing. I was gonna say, I don't know how many people are gonna chime in because you got two things going at the same time, and the confusion between the two Zoom channels might have had some effect.
No, I popped in there and I saw what was going on. They were just finishing the little flock thing. That's why I don't have my phone. It's over there in there.
You gotta be.
Keisha. All right, we're gonna say this prayer, Brother George or somebody.
Let's go.
Yeah, I can say it. Father, Lord God, we come before you to thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this platform to reach out and touch lives. God, I come before you asking that if just one person's life changed from this segment, then our job is done. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 George, take a good deep breath. Breathe it in through your nose, out through your mouth.
Do I look
nervous?
Do I look as nervous as I am?
You sound nervous. We'll be trying to get all the kinks out. You all right though?
You're good. You're good.
Right. 2:29 and blank seconds.
And Andrew was on another call. Keisha, stop messing with your shirt. Could you
It's
keep moving
wrong. It's doing things.
it? Go like this.
That's what I'm trying to do. But what can I figure out which way is which? Okay. There we go. No. There we go. No. All right, whatever. It is what it is. All righty, we can open up the doors. 2:30 on the dot.
Church's doors are now open.
And we're live. Welcome everybody. Come on in. Grab a seat. Welcome.
Peace.
Peace, everyone.
Peace. What is it?
Hi, Georgie.
Peace, everybody. Steve, thank you so much for joining us. It is 2:30 and we do like to start on time. We do realize that some of us are joining, but we want to go ahead and get started. So if I could ask our technical team to mute everyone as you come in so that we can begin to start our event for today. Mental health and recovery platform today. We're excited that you got me. Am I unmuted now? Okay. Thank you for joining us on our mental health and recovery platform today. We thank you so much for having the opportunity to join us. And I want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for making time to be here with us in this space. I also would like to take the time to thank our facilitators for today. We have Sister Angelia Robinson, and we also have Sister Elodia Williams, and we also have Brother George Taylor, and they will be joining us today, and they will be talking about a number of things. And we're really excited to have you on here, but I wanted to take this opportunity to thank everybody so far for our wonderful 71st National Youth Conference. This was a conference that was put together largely by our youth department. We have youth facilitators, we've had youth videographers, we've had youth content providers, and we're just very proud of all of our young people. And we're proud of some of the senior leadership that has also been guiding us, especially our TDI committee that has put together such a wonderful youth conference utilizing the web. And we thank you so much for that. So I'm going to get started by introducing our facilitators. And I have a wonderful bio for each of them. And our first facilitator is going to be Sister Angelia Robinson, and she is an LPC. She has a master's in clinical mental health counseling and is a licensed professional counselor with over 11 years of being in the field. She has experience working with adults, adolescents, children, as well as families. She's worked with a variety of clinical disorders, including depression, anxiety, trauma, self-esteem, chemical dependence, behavior, as well as personality disorders. Therapy is conducted using primarily the CBT approach, which is the cognitive behavioral therapy, and it encourages clients to sit in the driver's seat of their lives and to allow therapists to serve as their personal GPS to guide them towards their desired goals. Angelia has worked at an outpatient, an inpatient rather, and also private practice, and she currently is working in Illinois at Lutheran Social Services as a child welfare therapist. She's going to be our first facilitator today. Following Angie, as we all know and love her, we're going to have George Taylor. George is from the Maryland, DC, Delaware district. He was born in 83 in Washington, DC. He also excelled in sports as a young person, dreamed of one day being a professional football player. He's very active in his local church down there in Ironsides, Maryland, and he loved writing music, poetry, and his own short stories. At the age of 12, George had a very impactful life event that he's going to get into. I'm going to allow him to tell his own story, and I don't want to take anything away from that, so I'm going to let George tell the rest of that. I'm going to let him give you his personal bio in this testimony today. Following George, we're going to have Elodia Williams. She's also an LPC. She's worked as a licensed counselor for the past 8 years. She's worked in both the private and the public sector. Currently, she is the CEO of Then and Now Integrated Care Center that provides mental health and recreational services. She's also worked with ages 0 to 99, but she specializes in teens and young adults. With that being said, I wanted to just take this time to let you know, as many of us begin to join into this room, it is important that we allow this to be a very safe space. This is the first time we're doing something like this, and we want to make sure that everybody that comes in understands how private and personal this journey is, and also understand some of the information that we share. We want to be very, very careful with that information, okay? So we have a disclaimer that I'd like to read, and if you all would just bear with me. Once again, we want to thank you so much for showing up to talk about our mental health and our recovery event today. And we have Sister Elodia, Sister Angie, and Brother George, who are going to be our facilitators, as I've already mentioned. We recognize that you're here today not only to be a part of the mental health conversation, but also to be a part of the mental health solution for yourself and maybe for some of your others or some more of your loved ones. In an effort to be a part of the solution for others today, we just want to make sure that you have a reminder that this is a very sensitive conversation. And because this is a sensitive conversation, each of us needs to do our part to make sure that this is a safe space, as I mentioned before, for others to ask questions and make comments of a potentially personal and sensitive nature. This is going to ensure that everyone feels comfortable and gets the most out of our time together. Thank you for doing your part to let brotherly love continue. We would also like to give a disclaimer on the behalf of our organization, and that states that the views, information, or opinions expressed during this event are solely those of the panelists and individuals involved and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ of Apostolic Faith. Moreover, no information presented is intended to be a substitute for professional advice, medical, financial, or otherwise, diagnosis, or any treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, healthcare provider, or other qualified professional with any questions you might have regarding a specific condition or treatment. Please take this opportunity, everyone, to enjoy our wonderful and safe space as we attack this topic today. We thank you very much for your attendance, and we thank everyone that is facilitating for their sacrifice. First up, Sister Angie.
Peace and praise, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction as far as with the disclaimer, Sister Vakisha. That was very on point and on time. I too first would like to thank the National Youth Department for the opportunity to speak on such an important topic that has an effect on our community, both in the African American and faith-based community. A lot of times mental health is often stigmatized or taboo, that, you know, you shouldn't seek help. There's something wrong with you. You must be crazy. But that's the exact opposite. It's very important that individuals seek help if they are dealing with issues. You know, you go to a physician or a doctor if you're feeling sick. Same thing if something is bothering you mentally. It's very important. We know that God is first. We pray, we go to him, but he has also gifted individuals with certain talents to serve others in the capacity as therapists. And so it's very important to take advantage of that opportunity if you can do so. Also, I'd like to thank Brother George for creating this space for us to be able to talk about this topic and for being vulnerable to share your story. And I just pray that I'm able to give you the honor and justice to serve as your prelude. As Sister Vakisha mentioned, I do have 11 years of experience working in this field. It'll be 12 next month, so it's a very long time, but 6 of those years I've been working with the substance abuse population in both the group and individual capacity. So it is my hope that I will give you a brief overview on my experience with substance abuse, some statistics, and also some helpful definitions to help you better understand substance abuse. And so in those 6 years in working with the substance abuse population in both the group and individual capacity, I found that it has been very helpful for individuals to work more in a group capacity. Group therapy tends to allow individuals to be able to share their ideas, share their stories, their testimonies amongst their peers. It feels less judgmental. They're able to share their experience and be able to have that safe place where they are allowed to talk about whatever it is that is going on with them. It's support. I also look at it as almost at church. You know, right now we are having church via watching it on TV or on our phones. And there's nothing like coming together and camaraderie, you know, just to be able to share that experience. And so the same thing goes with group therapy. I found that that's the best form. Individual works as well for substance abuse, but it tends to have less of an impact as it would in the group. Like I said, more of that support. Statistic wise, according to the World Health Organization, over 31 million people are dealing with a substance abuse disorder. 9 out of 10 of those individuals are dealing with what we call a co-occurring diagnosis. And so as clinicians, a co-occurring diagnosis is, you know, an individual is dealing with substance abuse, but then also a mental health diagnosis, which may be generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, even oftentimes post-traumatic stress disorder, some type of trauma. And you know, honestly, it kind of makes sense when you think about it, because most times individuals who are dealing with substance use, they use that as a source of coping. It's a coping mechanism or self-medicating. A lot of times when they are dealing with their issues, they find that unfortunately, sometimes leading to a substance has been able to help them cope. And I want to be clear on, it's more than just street drugs. When we talk about different substances, individuals can have addictions to prescription drugs. You know, these are drugs that are legal, that are prescribed to you by your physician. We are all familiar with the opioid epidemic that is affecting the United States. And so you have your Oxycontins, you have your Vicodins, You also have your benzodiazepines where you have Ativan or Xanax. And so a lot of these medications, if you're not careful, you can become addicted to them because you are coping or self-medicating. So I want to talk a little bit about addiction. What is that? What does that mean? How does a person become addicted to a substance? So according to the American Psychiatric Association, which they're also the authors of the DSM-5, which is, for lack of a better word, the Bible of diagnoses. Addiction is a complex condition, okay? It is a disease. It's classified as a disease. It's manifested or displayed by a compulsive substance use despite harmful consequences. And so what that means is despite some of the impairments that it may have caused in an individual's life, maybe financial difficulty, employment, broken relationships, despite the consequences, individuals will still use. But I want us to be empathic to that, because addiction, as I stated, is a disease, and it's not something that you can just wean off. A lot of times people on the outside looking in will say, oh, that couldn't be me. I could never be addicted. I mean, certain things lead to that. Like I said, it's coping. So sometimes a major life event, life stressors, things that we may not have control over can lead to addiction. And it is not something that goes away overnight. It doesn't develop overnight, and it doesn't go away overnight. And so I think it's very important that we keep in mind to remove judgment from individuals. Again, it's a disease. If an individual could stop being addicted, they would tell you right today that they would, and I've come across a lot of individuals who have suffered from addiction. And it's really, again, it's an impairment, and individuals have a hard time really adjusting with that. Everyone's story is different. And so I also want to mention that peer pressure sometimes can lead to addiction. It's rare, but it can happen. Individuals can be introduced to a substance, whether it's at a party, whether it's with other individuals that they feel like they have to fit in. And so it's important to have those discussions with your children, and with everyone about, the dangers of, being in certain environments, and to try to avoid some of those triggers. So please keep that in mind. Some different terms I like to go over, and then I'm going to conclude with one last thing. Some different terms, recovery. So what recovery means is the ongoing stage of sobriety. It's an individual's, their journey of recovering, going through, trying to be better. Every day is a new day. Every day is a win. That's what we say. And every day that we don't use is a win, so that's their stage of recovery. There's, their stages of sobriety. Relapse. Relapse is the event where it's reoccurring. You take a lapse, you use, and it's no longer just that one time, but now it's back into that system. I'm back into the habit. I was clean. Maybe, an individual might have been clean for 30 days. And then we get back and we relapse. We're back into that environment. And it's tough. Sometimes it's tough to get out of that. And so that's a term that you may often hear in the substance abuse community. And then also addict. Addict is a person who is experiencing an addiction. So keep those things in mind as they may come up: recovery, relapse, and addict or addiction. Lastly, I would like to go over the stages of change. The stages of change can be applied to any experience that you're going through in life, whether it's a transition with a job or a relationship or things that you may be going through. There are stages of change. But for the sake of this session, we're going to talk about the stages of change as they relate to substance abuse. So there's 5 stages of change, and I'm going to try my best to be as layman as possible. I could talk about this topic all day, to be honest with you. I love mental health, and I love talking about substance abuse, but I'll try to keep it short and sweet. Pre-contemplation. So pre-contemplation stage is pretty much where you are, I don't have a problem. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm doing my thing, for lack of a better term. I'm doing my thing. There's no need, there's no desire for a change. I'm not even aware that there needs to be a change, right? There's that pre-contemplation, no thought, no thinking about it. Individuals in this stage are just almost, I would say, oblivious. Yeah, maybe oblivious to there being a need to change. Then there's contemplation. Contemplation is, okay, maybe there's an issue. Some people are talking to me about it. I did spend my last money, my last funds on, maybe trying to score a hit, or maybe there's something that we need to talk about. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. They're starting to notice that maybe it is causing some impairments in their life, whether it's with their job, maybe they're becoming late to work now, maybe with their relationship, they're not communicating as much. Financial responsibilities. Maybe I'm not paying my rent because I wanted to take care of other things. And again, it's not just hard drugs. This could be alcohol. Again, this could be any other substance. I think when we think about addiction, we tend to think of the heavy drugs, the heroin, the crack, the cocaine, but it can be anything. And to be honest with you, too much of anything is not good. So we want to make sure that we are doing things in moderation, but addiction can affect any part of our lives. And so I just want us to keep that in mind as we talk about this. But contemplation, the person is thinking about it. Preparation, our third stage. Preparation is someone is actually taking the research, right? So they're actually taking, having thoughts about, well, I heard there was a group on Mondays, maybe I'll check it out, or maybe there is something to this whole sobriety thing. Maybe I should go to AA, maybe I should go to NA, maybe I'll look up a few numbers, maybe I'll check some therapists out. That's the preparation stage, not in the actual steps, but I'm doing some research. I'm trying to figure out, what is it to all of this talk about, maybe I need to get some help, maybe some people are talking to me and it's kind of getting to me. All right. So that's what the preparation stage is about. Next, we have the action stage. The action stage is just what it is. You're taking the actual steps to work towards recovery. You're avoiding triggers. Triggers can be people, places, or things. So you, instead of going to that old neighborhood that you normally go to, you're taking a different route. You're avoiding those negative people that encourage you to use. People, places, things that may trigger you to want to use. So you're actually taking the steps, right? You're moving. You're going to group. You're talking to people about it. You're taking the steps. Okay, that's what the action stage is. And lastly, sounds like an easy stage, but I dare say it's the hardest stage because it's the maintenance stage. It's relapse prevention. This is an extended action stage. So not am I walking the walk, but I'm doing it every day. I'm maintaining. That's that maintenance stage. I'm maintaining. And the reason why I say this is one of the difficult stages is because if you've ever, talked to anyone that's in recovery, recovery is ongoing. It's never ending. Recovery is ongoing. You're always in a stage of recovery. You're always trying to do better. You're always maintaining sobriety. Unfortunately, relapse is real. And so that's why that relapse prevention is important. You're going to group, you're maybe even you become a sponsor for somebody. Okay. You are taking the steps to what it means to maintain. And so that's very important. And so I always try to encourage clients that I deal with, that I work with, that if you're not working on your recovery, you're preparing for your relapse. And that's very important. It's important that also in that action stage, that while you are avoiding those triggers, you are surrounding yourselves with support. Okay, that's very important, not just with substance abuse, but with mental health. You have to have a supportive environment around you, positive people. In regards to faith, as a Christian therapist, surrounding myself with other believers, getting in the word, taking those steps to better yourself. Okay. So that means you may have to cut off a few people, you may have to cut off a few things in your life, and that's okay. Like I said, stages of change can apply to not more than just substance abuse. It can apply to a lot of things, right? So maintenance is I'd say one of the hardest, because you have to keep at it. You have to stay at it. You have to maintain that. And so again, lastly, I just want to keep in mind that everyone's story is different. Addiction is real. Like I said, it's a disease, and it can be treated. It can be treated through therapy, going to group, and just maintaining that. And so I thank you all for the opportunity to be able to speak on this topic. Like I said, I wanted to keep it short and sweet because I want to provide that prelude for our dear brother George, who has been kind and gracious enough to be vulnerable enough to share this story. But also I'll pass it back to Sister Vakisha to open up for any questions if anybody has anything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Angie. That was some sage advice. And I'm sure that there if someone was very honest, they would say that they wish they had heard that probably a long time ago. And it might have saved them a lot of heartache and challenges and pain. Now, I'm going to ask, we're going to try to keep seamless. So if you have any questions right now, we ask that you put them into the chat, because we kind of want to just continue going on. So at the end, we have a lot of opportunity and everyone can jump in and can have an opportunity to ask questions. But I want to keep the thought continuum going. So we want to get into our next presenter today. And Sister Angie, thank you. Stay on deck, stay on board. We're going to have some questions for you a little bit later on. But please, so you don't forget your questions, if you put them in the chat, we will go back and we'll make sure that we can get those questions answered, okay? So at this time, Brother George, are you ready to share? He's still muted. Hold on just a second, George. We'll unmute you in a minute. So when you take a look where it says the host wishes to unmute you, you want to click that button, and then you want to—
He's a co-host. He can unmute himself.
Oh, he's a co-host. So all you got to do is unclick mute, George. See the little mic? There you are. So now at this time, I'd like to present to you Brother George Taylor.
You hear me? Hello. Peace be unto you and praise the Lord. My name is Brother George Taylor, and I would like to first and foremost thank God for allowing me to see another day clean and sober. I would like to thank Bishop Omega. I would like to thank Deacon Strong and the Young People's Committee for allowing me the opportunity to expose and bring awareness to a subject matter that affects a lot of our lives, some directly, some indirectly, and that's drug addiction. I have some notes in front of me. My short-term memory is kind of shot. There was a commercial back in the 80s that said, "This is your brain on drugs," and it was an egg frying. I wish I would have paid more attention to that commercial back then. But at any rate, I'm gonna do the best that I can to give anybody who is thinking about heading down the road that I've been down, just a heads up and maybe more. So, okay. I was born in 1983 in Washington, D.C., to Juanita Taylor and George Taylor. I have a sister, Lila Black. And my early childhood, I had a great childhood, to be honest with you. There's nothing that I can say that was the reason why I chose the life that I chose, other than just being curious and being sucked into going down a road that, excuse me, I'm real nervous. I'm sorry. I am very nervous. Let me just regroup myself. It's the first time that I've ever done something like this. But I say this, the disease of addiction was classified a disease in 1987. And just like any other disease, it has symptoms and requires treatment. Today, I'm going to focus on the disease of addiction. Not everyone who has used drugs or abused drugs is necessarily a drug addict. Everything that I will share with you is my experience only. I'm not a licensed clinician. I do not claim to know everything there is about drug addiction, but what I do know is my own personal experience of almost 20 years of active drug use. For me, my experimentation with drugs began when I was 12 years old. It was a lot of peer pressure, social acceptance that fed my need to fit in. The people that I thought were cool were using drugs and running the streets, so that's what I wanted to do also. I was a child of the 90s and I was influenced heavily by movies as well as music. Though my parents instilled in me morals and values, they were no match for what I was visually taking in through television as well as outside of my household. I was an athletic kid growing up. I excelled in creative writing. I won a few chess tournaments in elementary school thanks to my uncle Mervin for teaching me how to play chess at a very young age. From the outside looking in, I had everything possible to set my life up for success. However, I allowed drugs to take me to a place that I didn't plan on, and I stayed longer than I intended to. In the beginning, getting high was fun. I'm not gonna act like it wasn't. That period can be called the honeymoon stage. It would be that feeling that I would try to recapture over and over again, regardless of the consequences. Using drugs at an early age stunted my development, excuse me. Drugs affect the prefrontal cortex, which also affects your judgment, your decision making. And for me to damage mine at such a young age, I mean, I was a pretty everyday marijuana smoker at the age of 12. Um, so I know my brain was damaged at a very young age. Um, so not only did I continue to use drugs, I lost my ability for consequential thinking. Consequences didn't matter to me. The only thing that I thought about was getting high. Following the wrong crowd, I followed the wrong crowd until I pretty much became a ringleader amongst the wrong crowd. My grades suffered in school, my relationships suffered. Uh, Drugs negatively affected every relationship in my life. Many lost opportunities. I lost more opportunities than probably some people actually have in a lifetime. My first negative consequence that I had with drugs was my sophomore year. I wasn't able to play football. I didn't make the grades to play football, which was due to skipping school and getting high. Um, and though I was hurt by not being able to play, it still wasn't enough to stop me from the road that I was headed down. Um, I began to get depressed a lot. Um, it was only I was an adult when I found out. I didn't know this. I don't know much about the mental health field. I had been diagnosed a few different diagnoses as far as like going through treatment and seeking professional help. Um, to be honest with you, I'm not sure if they were right or wrong. I think maybe we're all a little touched in some way, um, some more than others. But I found out from my father that I was taking when I was a child Adderall, which I didn't know. I didn't remember. But I guess my school had prescribed me Adderall, and I took it for a little while. Um, so were there mental health things that contributed to where I ended up? I'm not sure. That's like, did the chicken come before the egg? I don't know. What I do know is what I have today and what I do as a maintenance to make sure that I continue my path to recovery. Um, so outside of marijuana, I'm not going to go into the specifics of all the drugs that I've done, but just know that if it's a drug out here, I did it. Whether it was snorting it, smoking it, shooting it, I did it. Um, I don't really know what I was in search of. Uh, what began as peer pressure in the beginning, just it became a lifestyle to where it was a necessity, you know, without peer pressure, it was a necessity for me. And there was a time where I would do almost anything to get it. Um,
George, take your time. Take your time, sweetheart.
I am. I am.
You surrounded by all kind of love right now.
I know. It's just sometimes I stop because I kind of get choked up, like um, just the spirit. You know, I can feel the love. You know, I was scrolling through, looking at all the faces, right, of my family, my church family, of the people that I avoided, you know, for a long time. You know, I stayed away, you know, because of my lifestyle. And it was almost like I felt as though if you all saw me and look in my eyes long enough, that you would know something was wrong with me, you know. And that's another part of the disease of addiction, isolation, you know. We say disease of addiction as far as a medical term, and as far as within recovery, within the rooms of 12-step programs, we say disease, the disease concept. But with my church family, I'm gonna just say the devil, you know, and his devices. Uh, Isolation kept me out there longer than I really had to be, you know. Um, so I think for me, basically, right now, I'm just gonna get away from the notes and trying to read, because something within my spirit is just telling me to be authentic, you know. Um, I didn't know exactly how I wanted to approach this. I didn't know if I wanted to do like a PowerPoint type, just stick to the script and you know all of that. But I prayed on it, and something with God, I feel, told me just be honest, you know. Um, so high school, you know, drugs, not listening to my parents, big consequences. Um, but as I said earlier, the consequences wasn't enough for me to stop. Denial is very real in addiction. Denial is very real. And we have a saying in recovery that denial stands for don't even know I am lying. It's an acronym. Don't even know I'm lying. Um, so my relationship suffered. And the more I fell into harder drugs, the more my personality changed. My family calls me Georgie growing up. Everybody called me Georgie. And it was like the more drugs I ingested into my body, you know, a part of Georgie died each time until I became somebody that I didn't even recognize, that I didn't even know, you know. A lot of shame, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. Um, and I grew up a church boy, you know, grew up a church boy. Everybody, you know, you all saw me, I grew up a church boy. And the thing about being in the streets and things like that, it's like the streets know who is of the streets and who is not of the streets. Okay. Um, you smell it a mile away. I mean, I would be in places, man, that I had no business. And people would tell me in there, you know, you really don't belong here. You know, you really, the things you are doing so many times people have told me like the things that you are doing is not really you. And at the time I would take it as an insult, you know, because I felt like, look, I'm in here getting high more than anybody in here. You know, what you mean I don't belong here? But I deep down I knew what they were saying. Um, so I barely get through high school. As a matter of fact, my senior year, I got expelled my senior year for missing too many days, missing too many days of school because I was using drugs. Um, Missed too many days of school, and I was expelled my senior year, and I had to repeat my senior year. Another consequence, right? Uh, Another consequence that I didn't recognize at the time was God throwing me red flags and letting me know, you know, hey, you're headed down the wrong path. Um, so I completed my next year out of school and just was lost. I was lost. At this point, I isolated myself from church. I've isolated myself from my family. And the only thing that I have is drugs. The only thing that makes me feel better is drugs. Um, because as Angie said, you can't, we as in us in recovery or anyone out there that's in addiction, we can't do this on our own, you know. But it requires surrender, you know. Um, so okay, I'm about 19, 20 years old. I start to get heavily into drugs at this point. Um, Getting DUIs, car crashes, barely escaping with my life. Um, Being around people with having shootouts and bullets flying past my head, and you know, just mayhem, just mayhem. And there was pretty much like it became normal to me. I was dead inside, like the drugs had numbed me to a point where I couldn't feel. You know, I was desensitized. You know, seeing my mother cry, seeing my father cry, seeing my sister cry, I just could not connect. You know, um, and I know it was drugs. You know, the person that I was before, I was a caring person, loving and considerate, and that was all traded in for just a self-centered, egotistical, um, just thing, you know. And so, uh, so I continued to use, and I continued to use, and time just continued to pass. Um, you know, I looked up, man, and before I knew it, I was 24, 25 years old. And, you know, all the things that my parents had told me, you know, in my teens about where I would be if I continued down this path, it was there. You know, I was there. Um, and I was a bum, you know. Drugs had taken my motivation. It had it had taken my mental sharpness, you know. Uh, and I deal with those effects to this very day. I deal with the repercussions mentally of, of drugs, you know. So I went to my first treatment center when I was about 23, 24 years old. Wasn't serious about it. Really just wanted a break, you know, from what I was doing. Um, I don't regret going because I still got some information, but it just, I wasn't ready, I wasn't ready at the time. And until somebody is ready to stop, you know, they won't stop. Um, I remember I wrote Bishop Omega a letter in my first treatment center, and he responded, and he had told me that I had to get to the place where I had to get to the end of me. And at the time, that like really just flew over my head, the end of me, you know, the end of George. George way does not work, you know, but it's the stigma that is attached to being an addict that I believe kept me up there for so long. Because nobody, well, I didn't want to admit it. I'd rather look good and suffer. I would rather show up and people say, hey, you look good. You look like you're taking care of yourself. And I'm living all kinds of wrong, you know. And so, that was my life for many years. So fast forward, many treatment centers, many times coming in and out of 12-step fellowships, different ones. I go for a while, get a little bit of time clean, start to feel better, and start to feel like, I can do this thing on my own, you know. Um, and I would relapse over and over and over again. I would go back out there and relapse. Um, and it for me, honesty, uh, for me, I couldn't stop until I was able to get honest. Not with anybody else. It was about being honest with myself, being honest with George. You know, um, and once I was able to do that, that honesty brings acceptance. This is who I am. This is the person I have become. You know, um, and once I was able to do that, I was able to start to value myself a little bit more, because now that I know where I am, okay, this is the road to not be that person. And so that began my recovery journey. And as I said, I mean, I have relapsed in the past many a times. Um, do good for a while and just say, you know what, I deserve a break. I deserve to celebrate. Um, I deserve to celebrate my sobriety with drugs. um, and that's not uncommon, that happens. But the biggest thing that I could say for anyone who's dealing with this issue and who has relapsed, don't give up. Don't give up. No matter how many times you fall, no matter how many times you make mistakes, um, if God allows you to see another day, get up. Get up. And that's for anything, whatever lifestyle, that whatever you want to break free from, because we all got something. Whatever you want to break free from, just don't give up. What my life look like today is real simple, Um, I remember, as I said, a 12-step fellowship. And I just take it one day at a time, For so long, I either was in the past, or I was projecting into the future. And I was just oblivious of the beauty of what's going on right now in front of me. I couldn't appreciate anything because for so long, I was just stuck, regrets of the past and fear of the future. Man, like I said, I just want to thank, I think I'm pretty much winding down, I don't feel as though I did a good job. It was like I had so much that I wanted to say that did not come out. When you practice these type of things, I was sharing like Shakespeare, it was, I said, oh, I'm going to kill him when I get on there. And God said, you know what, man? Humble yourself. Humble yourself. And so that's what I'm doing, What helps me is being vulnerable, it helps me. I have people in my life that I can be very open and honest with about what's really going on with me. And that's very important, So if I didn't help anybody else, one thing I know is that I helped myself.
George, you helped so many people in here. I can't wait to read you some of these lovely comments when you're finished.
Well, thank you. Like I said, this is my first time doing this. And if you all can see, I'm not lying to you, I had notes. Notes. And it was like I started reading them, and it was just like God scrambled me all up, man.
He said, speak from the heart.
Scramble me all up. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. It teaches me, man. It teaches me humility, which is very important in this walk, very important in life. It's humility, It's not about being seen, And that, to be honest with you, that's how I was. I was very superficial. As I said, I feel like if I look good, we thought I was doing good, when the whole time I was dying inside, screaming for somebody to help me, like just see through my mask, So anyway, I'm gonna start crying if I keep talking, but I love you all. I love you all, and just thank you for allowing me to share.
Well, George, we love you back. And I don't think you know how much, we love you. And I don't know how you're not going to cry, because exactly, we're about to tell you how much we love you, because, you've always had a very special place in my heart. I love me some Georgie. And if you ask anybody, I have said that since I was a little girl, how much I love me some George. So
I love you back.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that you had an opportunity to share this story and you didn't shrink back, because this is very private and very personal. And I'm just gonna read you some of this love you've been getting. You might need to go get you a box of Kleenex, because it's just that kind of party up in here. Sister Lily Thomas says, thank you for sharing your story. It's so very touching. I'm gonna go back to the tippy top. Y'all keep putting some questions in here, because we're going to answer some of these later, but we want to keep the flow kind of going, so we can allow space for you to ask these questions. But George, we have beautiful testimony from Sister Marilyn Cruz. Very touching, my brother. May God bless you, from Sister Arnisa Hughes. Of course, Dame Renee says, your sister loves you, Georgie.
Love her back. Love you back, Renee.
We have beautiful testimony. Your cup runneth overs with love. Relax and take it all in. Sister Joy Thomas says, you're very brave. You're very strong. Dame Arnesia says, Georgie, you're very brave and God bless you for sharing. Awesome job from Sister Joanna from North Carolina. Sister Danielle Robinson says, George, thank you so much for sharing your heart and your testimony. I mean, I could go on. I know Sister Cheryl said several things. She said, beautiful testimony. Brother Joel says, great testimony. And, what I love is that, all us old school folks, everybody's calling you Georgie. That's what we're used to. We have some folks on that have shared some of their testimony, that they know what you're talking about and that they've been through it and they have history. And we're really just thankful to you, George. I can't begin to tell you how much. And somebody said, love you too, looking like mommy. I'm gonna tell you, a couple of folks was like, he sure look good, but I'm just gonna tell you that, you getting love from all.
Well, you know what? Today it's better for me to feel good. It's better for me to feel good. But thank you.
That's awesome. And we have Sister Loretta says she wanted to get up and just come give you a big old hug. So
love you, Loretta.
And it took a lot of missteps to get folks where they are, but you are an inspiration to all. Sister Shayla said this mental health session's been wonderful. Sister Angie, wonderful to start. We're going to move right in to Sister Elodia, because I can read you once we're now. You can start reading some of the chat, George, so you can see exactly what folks were saying to you. But we're going to go ahead into our third portion of today. We're still collecting questions. Please continue to put them in the chat. And Sister Elodia, you want to talk about that A word and that D word, right? That's that anxiety and depression, right? We're here. So
Peace, everyone. My name is Sister Elodia, and I am in Phoenix, Arizona. It is nice and warm this weekend. It's 111-ish. That's all right. So we did want to talk about anxiety, right? With me being in the mental health world, I am one of the CEOs of the then now Integrated Care Center, but I also work in crisis. So I work in the emergency department, and we are seeing a huge rise in anxiety and mental health depression disorders in the emergency room because of COVID-19. And these rates are going up higher and higher every single day. So we wanted to talk about anxiety and depression because it is really hitting at home with everybody being quarantined, with people getting sick, with people having to be in their homes and not being really connected with other people right now. So let's just talk about anxiety, right? What is anxiety? It's one of the most common forms of mental illness. And it can be developed from genetics, brain chemistry, personality, and life events. So I guess right now, right, one of our main life events right now is a pandemic that's going on. COVID-19 hit, and we're seeing an increase in stress disorders, anxiety, and depression. So according to the National Institute of Mental Health, more than 264 million people worldwide, and it's growing, have anxiety. And it's highly treatable, but only 36% of people actually get treatment for anxiety. Some of the don'ts I'll start off with, and then I will go on to talking about the do's. Don't medicate, right? Self-medicate. People are thinking, oh, I'll just be fine. I'll use a little drugs. I'll use a little alcohol. I'll ignore it. I won't get treatment. It'll go away on its own. Treatment is highly recommended for anxiety because it's treatable. If you seek out treatment from a licensed professional, your medical professional, a doctor, a psychiatrist, it could be treated. And it actually affects your entire body. Most people go to the emergency room having chest pain and think they're having a heart attack, but it's actually anxiety. It's actually panic attack. People have stomach problems. People have breathing difficulties, body aches, fatigue, loss of libido, right? Depression is increasing because of anxiety. The sense of doom, suicidal thoughts, all of those are increasing because of anxiety, but because people aren't connecting it to anxiety, they're thinking it is other illnesses that they aren't even thinking, again, it's connected to the anxiety. So I sent out a chart. I'm not sure if everybody got it, but there's a chart that shows exactly how anxiety affects the body. It affects the brain, right? The depression, the suicidal thoughts, the panic attacks. People have excessive headaches and don't realize it's connected to the stress. They're irritable, they're angry, their mood is changing all the time, and they don't realize, again, it's anxiety or stress disorders. Sorry, my lighting is kind of getting a little weird. Pounding heart, breathing difficulties, again, upset stomach. People have like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and they don't realize it's because they're stressing out or they're having anxiety. Extreme fatigue. Some people have sleeping problems, or they can't sleep, or they're sleeping too much. Their blood pressure, right? People have high blood pressure because they're stressing out and they're having anxiety. Their whole entire body is aching because of that unknown stress that they're not dealing with and that anxiety that they haven't dealt with. So according to, again, some more medical facts, people with anxiety have a higher risk of physical health problems. It is shown that 5 times more people actually go to the hospital or their doctor thinking that they have medical issues when it's actually just anxiety. And we're actually seeing an increase of admissions at the mental health hospital as well, with people that have anxiety disorders that are now depressed, they're suicidal, they're having psychosis, they're having substance abuse issues, and now they're having to be hospitalized because they didn't treat the root illness of just the anxiety. And again, because working with the hospital, I see the COVID cases going up, I see the mental illness, so I'm seeing the double effects of both sides of the medical world right now, working in the emergency room setting. Some of the things that us as therapists, right, and mental health professionals, we like to teach people how to use coping skills and grounding techniques to kind of help decrease some of the stress and anxiety. One of my favorite is the 5 senses, right? So 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste. So the old saying of sometimes you just have to stop and smell the flowers, that is just being present and being in the world where you are right now, because anxiety is really forecasting and thinking about the future, the unknowns, the things we can't control, the day-to-day things that we just need to just sometimes just sit in it and relax and say, hey, I'm okay today. I'm okay right now in this moment. And sometimes we forget that because the world is so fast and the world is so crazy, we forget to just take the time out and just relax. So some other steps that therapy also helps with, right? We teach you these skills. We teach you how to decrease this anxiety. We teach you these coping skills. So just a few tips that I'm gonna share today is really just taking a time out. Again, sometimes we just need to say no. Sometimes it's hard to say no to our family and friends, but sometimes we just have to say no and really take care of ourselves. Eating well, that's a major part of your stress and anxiety. Again, limiting alcohol, caffeine, getting enough sleep. And if you are having sleep problems, that's when you need to reach out to a professional, your medical doctor, and say, hey, I'm not sleeping well, something's going on. Take some deep breaths, count to 10 very slowly. Sometimes doing your best, I think we're the hardest on ourselves. We put ourselves up on a higher expectation level, and then when we don't meet those expectations, we feel as we are failures. So sometimes, guess what? It's all right. I didn't get dressed today, and that's okay. I only went from the bedroom to the living room, and that's okay. So sometimes I think we forget that because we just want to just always do, always go, and always be extra when we don't really need to be. We can sometimes just relax and just sit in it. And sometimes it's accepting the things you can't control. And again, especially right now with COVID-19, what it really is, it's actually day by day, moment by moment right now, because every day something's changing with COVID. The symptoms are changing, the traveling is changing, restaurants and everything is closed. You can't really go out. You're not supposed to be hanging out with family and friends. So definitely not focusing on the things that we can control in our environment, right? So think about your circle. Are you around toxic people that's causing you extra stress? Is your job putting you on some unsavory boundaries that you don't want to deal with? Are you on social media too much or watching too much news, right? Those are things that we can control, and those things that also increase anxiety that we should be able to help with decreasing some of this stuff. Welcome some humor, laughter, do some FaceTime, do some Zoom, do some YouTube, Facebook, TV time with your family and friends when you can't be around them. Maintain a good attitude because it is really hard to get stuck in a slump, especially right now when we can't go anywhere. We're not even going to church right now because we can't even congregate. So it's really difficult to even have a good attitude, but it really is challenging those negative thoughts. Get involved as much as you can. I know it's limited. So doing things around the house, organizing, doing puzzles, coloring, playing word games, word searches. Those are old school things that I think we forgot. And now that COVID hit, we have to remember we have to do those things in the home to be able to decrease some of this anxiety. And the main thing that therapy helps with is learning what your triggers are, right? So anxiety can be triggered from work, from school. Some people are stressed because they have a test coming up, or they're worried they're not going to get into a certain school that they're gotten to. Some people are stressed again because of work, relationships, things going on in the church. So recognizing those triggers can help decrease that stress and anxiety. And again, that's what therapy kind of helps with. We identify and help you identify those triggers and then learn how to control those triggers so that way your anxiety and depression is decreased. And again, talk to someone. So again, that's kind of what therapy is for. I'm promoting therapy today because being a licensed therapist, me and Angie, this is the best medicine and best treatment for anxiety and depression. It really is talking to someone, learning these skills, decreasing the anxiety, decreasing the stress. And I promote therapy 100% of the time over medication because 99% of the time it works over medication. However, those are those extreme cases that medication is needed. And that's when your provider, your primary care physician or psychiatrist can prescribe you medication to decrease some of this anxiety. However, but it does go hand in hand as well. If you know, all of the studies show that the medication and the therapy together in joint is actually the best treatment, not just the medication alone. And of course, the end all be all is our spiritual and our prayer, right? God is our forefront. He needs to be the main reason, the main line for us. So one of my favorite scriptures that I found for anxiety is Proverbs 12:25. Anxiety and the hurt of the man causes depression, but a good word makes it glad. So reaching out, praying, singing, listening to some gospel, doing some yoga, doing some meditation, all of that is definitely important to keep your anxiety down and your stress levels, especially during this dire time right now, unfortunately, due to this pandemic. So if you have any questions, let me know. Turn that back to Vakisha.
Thank you so very much. I'm multitasking, y'all. Thank you so much, E. I appreciate all of you've given, all of the information that you've shared with us. And thank you so much for providing just, again, a safe space to all of you for speaking about mental health, addiction, recovery, and just all those things that happen to come out in life that it's kind of taboo. So at this time, I'm actually going to allow Mari to answer some of the questions, ask us some of the questions that we have in the chat. And we thank you in advance for sharing with us, and we'll get right back to you. So Mari, Sister Mari, can we have you unmuted?
Peace, everyone. I'm going to kill Vakisha because I didn't know this was happening. So bear with me. So I wrote down the question.
It's called Be Ye Also Ready.
Well,
Be Ye Also
I'm
Ready.
here. I'm here, Vicky. So I have the questions written down, but I'm going to look at the questions and then come back. My plan was to feed the questions to Vakisha and not give the questions. So I will, if you just give me a moment, I will read them and then I will, I'll direct the question to who it needs to go to. So just give me one moment. All right, so this question is for Brother George. Brother George, do you remember what exactly happened to make you change later in life, go in the right direction? So do you remember what triggered, what happened that you said, what made you change your life and go in the right direction?
For me, it's not it wasn't like a burning bush experience or anything like that. It's just a daily decision. You know, all I have is today. Um, it's a daily walk. Every day I wake up, I pray. I say, God, please keep me clean and sober today, and I go on about my day. Um, so, if that answers the question,
I think it does. And I have another one, but this question can be asked from everyone on the panel. What would you say to family members that have dealt with their family members who may have an addiction for years and don't know how to help them? I'm not sure who would like to go first, but anyone can.
I reiterate, be supportive, be less judgmental, offer any type of encouragement or support that they may need. A lot of times they're not looking necessarily for an answer, but they just need that support. Be there for them. Be present. If they need you, be there for them. So that's something I would add to it. If anybody else got anything to say.
And I think George touched on it, regardless of how much treatment, how much pushing that person gets, it's up to them until they're ready to make that change. Mm-hmm. Then they're going to make that change, but they definitely need that support for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so now I have an anxiety and depression question. Alodia, I believe you answered it, but maybe if you want to answer it again. What is the difference between anxiety and depression?
Well, sometimes they go hand in hand. Anxiety is really the things the unknown we're worried about, and depression is things that we worried about from the past. That's kind of how a therapist kind of explains it. So if you're worried about things that happened in the past, that's your depression. If you're worried about the unknown in the future, that's anxiety. But a lot of the symptoms are the same. They cross over. They affect the body the same way. So that's really the difference between depression and anxiety.
They're like
Andy, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I was just going to agree with Elodia. I was like, they're almost like cousins in the mental health field. Like she said, anxiety is fear of the unknown, fear of the future, and depression is that regret from the past. Yep.
Okay, and so this one is for Angie and Elodia. Can stress cause you to have joint pain and inflammation?
Most definitely. Most definitely. Stress can cause a lot of ailments that you may not be aware of, like Elodia had alluded to headaches, different types of pains. Yeah, most definitely.
And I just have two more questions. And so this one is, what advice do you have for someone like myself who consistently tries to find happiness while dealing with depression, but the sadness just won't go away no matter what? I battle with both anxiety and depression.
I would say reach out to a mental health professional to get some treatment. Because sometimes it is nothing you can control. Sometimes you just need that extra mental health supportive to kind of help you walk through that.
I agree. And I like the verse that you had mentioned too, Elodia. So, definitely prayer, get into the word, talk to somebody that can encourage you, a professional, have a support person, have that person you can reach out and talk to. Do things that make you happy as well. Find something that you enjoy, some self-care activities. If you like paint your nails, do things that make you feel good. Sometimes on the inside, you may not be feeling well, but if you dress up for that day, you'd be surprised how your outer appearance just dressing up for the day, taking a shower, you know what I mean? Eating a healthy meal, like Elodia said, those basic things that you don't think about that sometimes we take for granted can change your mood. And those are just small steps to build towards that.
Okay, and I just have two more questions. So the next one is, how do you reach out to therapy, even if it's for someone else?
So locally, the easiest way I found is to either dial 211 or go onto the internet and just type in 211. And locally, it will find your local, each state's department to reach out for mental health. So that's crisis teams, that's suicide prevention hotlines, and it even kind of direct you into how to find therapists in your area. So that I would say that's probably the easiest way for anybody across the country to find therapy.
I will also say that we added in the chat, if everyone's seeing the chat going back and forth, we posted some links within the chat for additional information. So if going beyond 211 is, if you can also call 211 like Alodia said, but we also provided links from both Angie and Alodia for more information. All right. So that is it. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming online today. I think I see some comments coming through. LaShonda is fielding them to me, but that was the last of the questions that I have. I just want to thank you all for coming online, for being here, for being present, for creating a safe space for all of us to be able to listen and learn. I first want to thank Brother George for coming on. We love you, George, and
I love
we
you too.
appreciate you being here.
Can I say something real quick? I saw
Sure can.
it's a couple questions. I mean, if that's
No,
okay.
if you see questions you want to answer, go ahead. We could have missed them.
I see a couple questions that came up to me. One of them it says from, well, I don't have to say who it's from. George, what is the best way you would suggest that family members support addicts of any kind? I would say just be there as support. A lot of times, you can get frustrated. I mean, I can only imagine how it is to be on the other end, on the opposite spectrum of addiction, as far as being a loved one of an addict, because we will test your patience. But one thing, don't give them any money. That's for sure. Don't give them any money. But but just be there as support. Ask them if there's anything. Sometimes there's a underlying issues. I know for me there were things that unaddressed issues that from my childhood. Not to say that caused where I ended up, but there was just a lot of things that I suppressed. So you never know what anybody is dealing with. You just see the symptom of what they're doing. So I would say try to dig deeper, and you're gonna have to have patience, and provide. You can do research as far as 12-step meetings, get them a meeting list, things like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all.
Were there other questions, George, you saw?
Yeah, let me see. Okay. There was one. Brother George, what do you do to make yourself feel good or happy? What I do to make myself feel good or happy? I like to write. I write poetry. I love music. I actually had a poem that I was gonna do, but I got so turned around like that. We still had time. I do the poem if that's okay. But I just purchased a dog, a little puppy, and he has been driving me crazy, in a good way. He's teaching me patience. I'm learning tolerance. My wife and I don't have any kids, so yesterday I was thinking, literally while he was outside and I was watching him walk around the yard, I said, you know what? I think I'm kind of okay with not having kids. You know what I'm saying? I literally had that thought. I said, I think I might be okay without having any children, but he's teaching me a lot. So just find things that for a lot of addicts, there were things that we did before the drugs. Start falling in love with those things again. I picked up roller skating again. You know, I love to roller skate. Um, just do things to keep your mind occupied. Uh, all right, let me see. I'm gonna go back into the questions. I think it was one more that I had saw that I wanted to address. Uh, let's see.
George, your dog might can possibly serve as a therapy dog too. Very therapeutic.
Yeah, hold on real quick. I'm gonna get them for y'all. I got show them to y'all. Hold on.
And Angie, did you want to, I think you had a question or you wanted to answer some questions?
We do. We have a question for Elodia and I. The question is there really a cure for depression? We've been working with therapy, working with a therapist for a while, but it continues to reoccur. Um, when I think of cure, I mean, it's like end all be all. So I'm not sure. I don't know about the term cure, but it's definitely treatable. Um, Stick to it consistently. You know, it may be one of those cases where you have to get medication to help you with that. But psychotherapy and
Buddy.
medication both can assist you with dealing with depression. Um, it may come back. There is a diagnosis, dysthymia, persistent depressive disorder. So it may be something that you just deal with ongoing for your life, throughout your life. But yeah, just stick to it. Be consistent. Be consistent. Elodia, did you want to add anything to that?
I would say therapists sometimes don't click with their clients. So if you're not clicking with your therapist, get a new therapist. Sometimes that's also part of the treatment. And we're the same. Sometimes I've had to fire clients because we just don't click.
Right. Yep. You got to find out what works best for you.
Right.
Alodia, did anyone send you any direct questions that you want to answer?
I think it was just about the depression one.
Okay.
That I see so far. Yeah, that was it.
Okay. I'm going to go back to George. George, did you want to show us your puppy and read us your poem?
Yeah, everybody, this is Turbo. Say hello to Turbo. I'm kind of like regretting naming him that right now because he is definitely off the chain, man. But this is what makes me happy, you know. I always wanted a puppy growing up. I understand why my parents didn't get me one now. However, you know, just staying, man, just enjoying family, enjoying my wife, enjoying just things that everything I took for granted. Just enjoying those things, man. You know, that's pretty much what my life looked like. But yes, I can do the poem. I can do the poem. Okay. Have you ever felt like you were stuck in place? Like all around you, you could see opportunity and space. Yet the closer you are to reaching your goals, the further they seem to drift away. But deep down inside, you know you're destined for greatness. And those who criticize you from the comforts of their own skin may view you as faithless, but they will never walk a mile in your shoes or live a paragraph in the book of your life's pages. You may have failed at many things, but you've never failed at getting back up. And though life is known to throw some devastating blows, but you keep your chin down and you keep your guards up. And don't worry about your future, because the future isn't even really the future, because once it gets here, it becomes the present. And though the past is a distant mirage behind you, you're still able to pull from it some very tangible lessons. Like all adversity doesn't have to be met with aggression, which is far from a theory. For me, it's a confession. See, I used to fight fire with fire. I've taken many eyes in exchange for mine, which ultimately left me burned blind and still on the spiritual decline. It's hard to fight against the enemy when the enemy is your own mind. That means every day you wake up, you're already behind enemy lines. Drafted in a war that's been waging since the beginning of time. So which side are you on? Many people claim to be on the side of God's while playing in the devil's backyard. That used to be me. Screaming, I love you, Jesus, Sunday morning from my seat. And by Sunday night, I'm searching through the secrets that the street lights keep. Yeah, that used to be me. Mr. Slick, cool, and always in a hurry. I can't stay too long. I'm afraid if you looked in my eyes long enough, you would discover my shame. So I mask it with brown liquor pills and lines of cocaine. It's a one-way ticket every time I board that train. The destination, degradation, misery, and pain. That's it.
Just beautiful, 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 beautiful. We thank you. You got snaps, you got claps, you got hands, you got smile. You know, as an avid poetry lover myself, you put them words together, bro. You did that, as they say. And I'm really thankful for everybody that joined us on this platform. I know we shared some very private things, and we were in a very private space. And I thank the Lord for the professionals, the young professionals we have that were able to really delve down deep and start breaking out some information on anxiety and depression, you know, on substance abuse and addiction and recovery and the road. And then, you know, George, for you to share your testimony, I'm so thankful for everything that you've done. And I don't know, do we have any closing words from anybody, or we're going to just say, God bless you? Thank you. Shonda, you're muted. You're talking, but you're muting. You got to unmute yourself. Yes, darling, unmute. Yes, Shonda.
Thank you.
Thank you from Shonda. Anyone else?
No, stay tuned for tonight.
Oh, yes. Stay tuned for tonight's information. We'll get that to you post-haste. Thank you for everyone that shared in the chat. I do have some individuals who put their information in, and God willing, we're going to try to get back with you. I know this is being recorded. Brother Philip, does the chat stay recorded?
Yes, we have a transcript of the chat if you like it.
Yes, we would like to keep the chat, please.
Oh, yes, no problem.
Okay, so we're going to keep the chat. We'll try to follow up with you. Please put some email, some phone numbers in, some emails inside the chat before we close out as quick as possible, so we can try to keep that information and try to get you some local help. I know that Sister Elodia has helped me over here in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania with some of my clients. And I'm sure that if you're in the area, they can get you some help and that's local to you, all right? We just know we are praying for you. Know that we love you dearly. And God willing, we'll see you at the rest of the conference. Thank you all very much for joining us today. And peace. We'll keep this open a little while so folks can go information in.
Peace, everybody.
Peace, everyone.
Peace,
everyone. Great job, George. Great job, everybody.
Great job, George. Good job.
Thank y'all.
George.
Love you,
Georgie.
Love you, Georgie. We love you, Georgie.
Love you all.
I love y'all back.
Love you all. Angie and Elodia.
Very good presentations.
Very good information.
To everyone.
He left me like that.
Proud of you,
George. That was
Thank you, Moni. Thank you, Moni.
Hey,
Thank you, Moni.
Hey.
Look at him. I mean, I've seen him. I don't know. Cheryl. I just
Hi.
I hear you, Rose.
I'm so ready for this. This is
Hi,
my
Mom.
favorite.
I miss
Hey,
it.
Nita.
Hey, Cheryl. Hey, Sandra.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, Georgie. What of you, Georgie?
Hey, Dad, I see you back there. Love y'all back. Thank y'all for y'all patience.
Yes, bro.
I'm so happy you did this, Georgie.
Yes.
You thought about doing a commercial?
No, when you can talk about it like this, your healing is started. No?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Georgie.
yeah, I
Hey,
agree.
praying, my bro. Hey, praying.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Yep, Juanita Taylor. God is good. God.
Georgie,
Yo,
I couldn't have done it.
what you mean?
I couldn't have done it.
Hey, Lord.
You don't know what you can do.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, I can hear you. I
Love
was
you.
going to
Tell
get
him.
to sit. So how about
That's
that?
true.
How long you been
Speak
clean?
life.
Yeah.
Speak
Hey,
life.
Evelyn. Hey,
Sister,
Cheryl.
Sister
Hi.
Cheryl,
Yes.
I wasn't able to get to your question. But I put my, did you see my number that I put up?
Yes, I did.
Hold on, was it? Let me make sure.
I saw it. You put it up.
Yes,
Oh, you
he
know what?
did.
I'm sorry. That was you had a different question. It was Sister Angela Artis.
Oh, yes, it's our RT.
Is she still on?
I don't so
I don't think she's still on. That's okay. She had that's all right. If anybody knows her, they can give her my number. She sent me a
It's in the
private.
well, she got to come back.
I think you might have put her email in the chat, but I know her.
Hey, Sister Valerie. Hi. How's it going, girl? All is well, thank the Lord. How are you? All is well. All is well. I missed this session. I'm so sad. Hopefully they will replay it on.
it should be on YouTube.
5 minutes away. I caught the tail end.
Hey, Benjamin. Hey, Benjamin.
It's on YouTube. You can check it out on YouTube. Apostolic
5
Buzz
minutes
YouTube
away.
account.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. Thank you. Peace, everyone. Love you all.
Hey, Angie.
I don't know who that is.
That's Wanda, girl. That's Wanda.
Peace, Wanda.
You still represent Virginia. Remember that.
Peace, Aunt Valerie.
Peace, Auntie Val.
Hey, I love y'all.
There she
Love
goes.
you too,
What you
Auntie.
call it?
No, I don't have any lipstick on.
Valerie, you still on the call? I miss y'all.
Miss you too.
That's ridiculous. Just get a straw if you need to do all that. Or how about just get your own?
Fuji,
What?
are you talking to us?
Because we're on with no video. Turn the video.
Hey,
Oh, am I? Oh.
Hey, Shayna.
So sorry.
Hey, Shayna. Where's Parker?
Hey, Sister Annie Jones. Peace, Mother Morgan.
Finally, let me unmute. Peace, y'all. Cracker's with his granddad right now. Hanging out.
Great job, Angie.
Peace, Shayna. Peace, Lady. Love you.
Love you too. Georgie. Hey.
Hey,
Great job,
what's up,
Auntie.
Shayna?
Great job, Georgie.
Hey.
What's
Good
up,
job,
Shayna? How
I
you
thought
doing?
that was you. I can't complain. Thank the Lord.
Been a
Oh
long
gosh.
time.
George, great job.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Georgie, I'm still over here sniffing.
Thank you, y'all.
Congratulations, George.
Yeah, I'm still sniffing.
I know, that was so nice.
That was beautiful.
Have more discussions.
Yes, sir.
Great job, George. Great
Everyone
job,
did a great job.
committee. Excellent. I'm so
Yes.
proud of all you all.
Yes.
Great job.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
Ashley.
I missed
Thank you,
most
lady.
of this. I was on the little clock one learning how to draw an owl.
Oh, mommy duty
Hey, Christina.
calls.
Hey,
I can only draw sticks.
Hey, Christina.
You can draw an owl after this. I'm asking you to say record it. I send it to you. Okay, I think to learn some OVO.
Hey, Nita.
OVO.
can somebody say, hey, Nita, hey, Nita.
What's the thing? They gonna get off?
Yeah, that's all I did. Yeah,
Everybody coming back for the 6 o'clock?
Hey, Shayna.
true.
Hey,
I see you, Brenda.
Hey.
All right.
Brenda.
Hey, Sister Evelyn.
George.
Darlene.
So,
Hey,
People want a
Nita.
copy of the
Hey.
I see you, Brenda.
Hey.
People would like copies of the poem.
Miss Renee.
Hey.
I will have to, I had to figure that out.
Right. Agreed.
Great job, Elodia.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, I had to figure that out.
He probably talking about copyright and stuff.
Hey, peace, everybody. I thought Deacon Andrew Scott wanted to say something before I muted everybody, but I don't hear him. Deacon Scott?
Thank you, Brother Shore. We thank you all for being a part of this session. And once again, we thank God for the testimony we received from Brother George and knowing him as a young man, seeing him grow up in this organization. God bless you. God keep you and be strong. And to all of us, we say, peace be unto you and come back at 6 o'clock for the Gospel Fest. God bless.
Okay, see y'all later.